More than 9 out of 10 engine misfires I diagnose in the shop don't start with spark plugs, coils, or sensors. They start with fuel injectors that are dirty, restricted, or partially clogged. And here's a number that usually shocks people. A clogged injector can waste up to 30% more fuel before the car even hits 50,000 miles. That's money literally burning out of your exhaust. In this video, I'm going to walk you through 9 proven ways to clean your fuel injectors without removing them from the engine. These are real-world methods I've used on daily drivers, work trucks, and high-mileage cars. And if you stay until the end, I'll share a professional trick that I normally don't explain outside the garage, one that can realistically extend injector life by up to 100,000 miles. Let's get into it. Method number 9. Adding a fuel system cleaner to the gas tank. This is the most common injector cleaning method, and also the one most people do wrong. The idea sounds simple. Buy a bottle, pour it in, drive away. But here's the mistake I see all the time. People grab the cheapest cleaner off the shelf, dump it into a completely full tank, and expect instant results. That's not how chemistry works. Not all fuel system cleaners are created equal. What you want to look for is an active ingredient called polyethyramine, usually abbreviated as PEA. That's the compound that actually breaks down carbon deposits and varnish inside fuel injectors. Cleaners that don't contain PEA mostly just dilute the fuel and make you feel better. Products like Chevron Techron, Gumout Regain, and Redline SI1 have consistently shown real results in lab testing and real-world use. There's also a technique most drivers ignore. Pay attention to the treated fuel volume listed on the bottle. If the label says it treats up to 12 gallons, don't pour it into an 18-gallon full tank. You'll weaken the concentration and reduce its effectiveness. What I usually recommend is running the fuel level down to about a quarter tank, adding the cleaner, and then filling up. That keeps the chemical strong enough to do its job as it passes through the injectors. And let's clear up another myth. One bottle is not going to undo years of neglect. Fuel system cleaner is maintenance, not a miracle cure. In the shop, I typically recommend using a quality cleaner every 3,000 to 5,000 miles, roughly the same interval as an oil change. That way, deposits are constantly being removed before they harden into serious restrictions. One small but important detail: use a funnel if your filler neck is tight or angled. I've seen more than a few cars come in with stained paint because cleaners spilled down the quarter panel. Some of these chemicals are aggressive enough to damage clear coat if left sitting. Used correctly, this is the entry-level method for keeping injectors clean. It's affordable, easy, and effective. Method number 8. Detergent-based fuel additives. Injectors don't just clog with hard carbon. In many cases, they get coated with sticky varnish and gum. This usually happens when fuel sits in the system for long periods and begins to break down. Regular cleaners don't always remove this type of buildup effectively. Detergent-based additives work more like a degreaser. Think of them as dish soap for your fuel system. They're designed to dissolve oily residue, gum, and varnish that builds up on injector tips and internal passages. I've used these countless times on vehicles that sit unused for months at a time, like older sedans, weekend trucks, or seasonal vehicles. In those cases, the injectors weren't packed with carbon, they were literally glued up with sticky fuel residue. Here's what most people overlook. These additives work gradually. You're not going to see dramatic results after a single tank. In stubborn cases, I usually recommend running the additive through 2 or even 3 consecutive tanks. That gives the detergent time to soften the buildup and carry it out of the system safely. In more severe cases, some technicians, myself included, will pair a detergent additive with a PEA-based cleaner. The PEA attacks carbon deposits, while the detergent breaks down varnish and gum. Together, they cover both types of contamination. Just don't get carried away. Dumping multiple additives into the tank at random can stress seals, oxygen sensors, and emissions components. Stick with reputable brands, follow the instructions, and give the car time to respond. Method number 7. Ethanol treatment additives. Ethanol is a double-edged sword for fuel injectors. Most gasoline sold in the United States contains up to 10% ethanol. On the positive side, ethanol acts as a mild solvent and can help keep injectors cleaner. The problem is that ethanol also attracts moisture from the air. Over time, that moisture can separate from the fuel, promote corrosion, and cause rough running or hard starts. Ethanol treatment additives are designed to stabilize fuel and control water contamination. I've used them extensively on vehicles that sit for long periods, including boats, motorcycles, lawn equipment, and classic cars. Without treatment, injectors can clog solid after a single off-season. With proper treatment, those same engines often start and idle like they were driven yesterday. A common mistake is using these products once a year and expecting full protection. For daily driven vehicles, using an ethanol treatment every few tanks can make a real difference, especially if you regularly buy fuel from smaller or off-brand stations. If you're storing a vehicle, add the treatment before parking it, then run the engine for a few minutes so treated fuel reaches the injectors and fuel rails. A quality ethanol treatment doesn't just protect injectors. It helps prevent hard starts, rough idle, and even premature fuel pump wear. I've seen fuel pumps fail early simply because water sat in untreated fuel and caused internal corrosion. Chemicals can solve a lot of problems, but sometimes an engine needs something else entirely. Method number 6. Regular highway driving. Sometimes the best injector cleaner isn't in a bottle, it's attached to your right foot. One of the oldest and most effective tricks for cleaning injectors is what mechanics call the Italian tune-up. The real problem is how most cars are driven today. Short trips to work, quick runs to the store, endless stop-and-go traffic, and long idle times. In those conditions, the engine rarely reaches full operating temperature. When that happens, carbon starts building up on injectors, intake valves, and even inside the catalytic converter. Over time, that buildup restricts airflow and fuel delivery, and the engine slowly loses efficiency. An Italian tune-up does the opposite. You take the car out on the highway for a sustained drive, ideally 20 to 30 minutes. Once the engine is fully warmed up, you keep the RPMs higher than normal for an extended period. That might mean holding a lower gear on the highway or allowing the engine to rev a bit more aggressively than during daily commuting. What this does is raise combustion temperatures high enough to burn off soft carbon deposits before they harden. I've personally seen engines with light misfires, rough idle, and sluggish throttle response smooth out noticeably after a single proper highway run. To be clear, this is controlled high RPM driving, not abusing the engine. You're not bouncing off the rev limiter or driving recklessly. The goal is steady load and sustained heat, not flooring the gas pedal non-stop. Automatic transmissions can usually handle this by staying in a lower gear, while manual cars can simply be driven in a lower gear for longer stretches. One critical rule most people ignore: only do this if the engine is mechanically healthy. Old oil, weak cooling systems, or unresolved warning lights are reasons to fix the basics first. When done correctly, an Italian tune-up is free, simple, and surprisingly effective. Method number 5. Throttle body and air intake cleaner spray. This is where we move beyond additives in the fuel tank and actually address the air side of the equation. Over time, carbon and oil residue build up on the throttle plate, intake runners, and manifold walls. That sticky buildup restricts airflow, causes rough idle, hesitation, and throws off the air-fuel mixture your injectors are trying to deliver. Using a throttle body or intake cleaner spray helps dissolve those deposits while the engine is running. The process is straightforward but needs to be done carefully. Locate the throttle body by following the intake hose from the air filter box to where it meets the engine. Loosen the clamp and pull the hose back so you can see the throttle opening. Start the engine and have someone keep the RPM steady around 1,500 to 2,000 to prevent stalling. Spray the cleaner in short bursts directly into the throttle body. Don't flood it. Let the engine pull the cleaner in naturally. Spray for a few seconds, let the RPM stabilize, then repeat. Continue this process until roughly half the can is used. Once finished, shut the engine off, reinstall the intake hose, and tighten the clamp securely. Always work in a well-ventilated area, keep ignition sources away, and have a rag handy for drips. These cleaners are flammable and should be treated with respect. Afterward, most drivers notice a smoother idle, better throttle response, and improved airflow almost immediately. And yes, some of that cleaner does make its way past the intake valves and helps clean injector tips as well. But while sprays are effective, there's still a do-it-yourself solution. If you want true shop-level cleaning without removing injectors, the next method takes things to another level. Method number 4. Pressurized fuel system cleaner kits. This is where professional-grade cleaning begins. Unlike pour-in additives, a fuel system cleaning kit feeds concentrated cleaner directly into the fuel rail, completely bypassing the gas tank. When done correctly, this is one of the most effective ways to restore injector performance without removing them from the engine. I've used these systems countless times in the shop, and the results can be dramatic. But this method is not beginner-friendly. You're working with pressurized fuel lines, and mistakes can be dangerous. The first step is relieving fuel pressure by removing the fuel pump relay or fuse and cranking the engine until it stalls. This safely depressurizes the system. Next, the kit is connected to the fuel rail through the Schrader valve or service port using the proper adapter. The canister is filled with a strong cleaning solution designed specifically for this process, much more aggressive than anything sold for fuel tanks. The canister is then pressurized, usually between 40 and 60 psi, to match the vehicle's fuel system pressure. Once everything is secured and leak-free, the engine is started. At this point, the engine runs entirely on the cleaning solution instead of gasoline. As the engine idles, the cleaner is forced through each injector, scrubbing internal passages and restoring proper spray patterns. When the canister is empty, the engine is shut off, the kit is removed, the fuel system is reconnected, and the engine is restarted on normal fuel. The result is smoother idle, improved throttle response, better acceleration, and injectors delivering fuel evenly again. But if that process sounds intimidating, you're not wrong. That's exactly why many drivers choose to leave this step to experienced technicians. And that leads directly into the next method, which takes injector cleaning even further. Method number 3. Professional on-car injector cleaning service. Sometimes the smartest decision is knowing when to let experienced hands take over. A professional on-car injector cleaning service uses equipment and chemicals that simply aren't available at your local parts store. I've personally run hundreds of these services in the shop, and when injectors are dirty but not completely failed, the difference afterward is night and day. Here's what actually happens during the service. The technician connects your vehicle to a professional-grade cleaning machine that bypasses the fuel tank entirely, similar in concept to a DIY pressurized kit, but far more precise and far more powerful. The system feeds a concentrated cleaning solution directly through the fuel rail, and the engine runs exclusively on that cleaner for about 20 to 30 minutes. During that time, carbon buildup, varnish, and stubborn deposits are flushed out of the injectors internally. The results are usually immediate. Idle becomes smoother, throttle response sharpens, and fuel economy often improves noticeably. I've had customers come back days later saying the car feels tighter, smoother, and more responsive, like it lost 50,000 miles overnight. That's what properly cleaned injectors can do. Now let's be honest about the downside. This service isn't cheap. Depending on the shop and the region, you're typically looking at anywhere from $100 to $200. But when you compare that to injector replacement, which can easily cost $600, $800, or well over $1,000 on modern engines, it's a very reasonable investment. There's also an important limitation you need to understand. This service won't resurrect injectors that are completely clogged or electrically dead. If an injector isn't opening or has an internal electrical failure, no chemical treatment will fix that. Replacement is the only option. But for injectors that are dirty, sticky, or spraying unevenly, professional on-car cleaning often brings them right back to proper operation. Method number 2. Using top-tier gasoline with built-in detergents. Here's a truth most drivers overlook. Cheap gas usually costs you more over time. You might save a couple of dollars at the pump, but what you're really buying is fuel that barely meets minimum federal requirements. That means fewer detergents, more deposits, and injectors that slowly clog over time. Top-tier gasoline is different. Brands like Chevron, Shell, Mobil, and Costco participate in the top-tier program, which requires significantly higher detergent levels than standard fuel. These detergents are specifically designed to keep injectors, intake valves, and combustion chambers clean. AAA testing has shown that top-tier fuel can keep engines up to 19 times cleaner than bargain-grade gasoline. I've seen this difference firsthand. Vehicles that consistently run discount fuel often show uneven injector spray patterns and heavy valve deposits by 70,000 or 80,000 miles. Meanwhile, cars that stick with top-tier gas can reach 150,000 miles with injectors that still look and perform nearly like new. That's not coincidence. That's chemistry doing its job. Another misconception is that you have to buy premium fuel to get these benefits. You don't. Regular grade fuel from a top-tier station still contains the enhanced detergent package. Unless your vehicle specifically requires premium, regular top-tier fuel gives you the same cleaning protection without wasting money. Here's a practical pro tip. If you're forced to use off-brand fuel occasionally, follow it up on your next fill-up with a quality PEA-based injector cleaner. That helps neutralize the deposits that cheaper fuel can leave behind. Fuel quality matters far more than most people realize, and consistently choosing top-tier gasoline is one of the easiest long-term ways to keep injectors clean. Method number 1. Carbon Clearing Machine Service. If you're looking for the most powerful and thorough injector cleaning available without pulling injectors out of the engine, nothing beats a carbon clearing machine service. This is the gold standard. It's what dealerships and high-end performance shops use to restore engines to near factory condition. The process involves connecting a specialized machine directly to the fuel rail, replacing the vehicle's normal fuel supply with a highly concentrated professional cleaning solution. As the engine runs, this solution flows through the injectors under controlled conditions, dissolving carbon, varnish, and stubborn deposits that standard additives simply can't touch. Unlike basic cleaners, this process doesn't just clean the injectors. It also cleans intake valves, combustion chambers, and fuel passages, effectively resetting the entire fuel delivery system. The results are noticeable almost immediately: smoother idle, sharper throttle response, improved fuel economy, and maximum injector lifespan. In many cases, the transformation is so dramatic that drivers describe it as feeling like a mild engine rebuild, without ever opening the engine. Most professional shops recommend this service every 30,000 to 50,000 miles, depending on driving habits and fuel quality. While it typically costs between $100 and $200, the performance gains and preventative benefits easily justify the price, especially if your vehicle shows symptoms like rough idle, hesitation, poor acceleration, or hard starts. If you want peace of mind and factory-fresh performance without the expense of injector replacement, the Carbon Clearing Machine service is the #1 option. It's the closest you can get to brand new injectors without removing them.